Hey YouTube, this video I'm going to be doing a deck profile of my other Neo Nectar deck, besides the Musketeer one. So this one is the Stride focused Neo Nectar deck. So this is an example of a deck that I would put together if the focus was on striding, not on legioning or limit break or any of that other stuff. So just to give you an example of how it works, the focus is Stride, so there's a bunch of Stride units, and obviously if it's Stride focus, you're gonna run a Vanguard that's focus, that's main, that has a GBs 2 and all that kind of stuff. So start off for Renoculous Flower Maiden Asha. She is Tokoha's main Vanguard, and she's actually pretty good. Pretty good trial deck, really easy to get. Just buy 2 trial decks and you have the whole deck. You even have a whole set of perfect guards if you want. So yeah, this is actually going to be the Maiden-focused deck. So the theme is the Maidens. So the other one was Musketeers, this one's Maidens. And the next grade 3 is one that I've actually been running all along. And surprisingly, I've had these since they came out. And if you look on my channel from way back, like 2 years ago, you'll see like the deck profile with Maiden of Trailing Rose. And now everybody seems to be looking for this for some reason. Probably because I think she's actually going to get a revival Legion or a Stride version of her. I forgot which one, probably a Stride. But anyway, people looking for her. If you don't have her, it's fine. You can still run the deck. You just have to use the card. I forgot her name. It's another Maiden. It's a grade 3 that it has a Vanguard and a Rearguard effect. It's the girl with the roses and stuff. That's the other grade 3 I'd recommend running if you don't have Maiden of Trailing Rose. Maiden of Trailing Rose is just really good as a backup Vanguard. If you open up with her, she has a Persona Blast skill. Nice thing about her is she's not limit break based, and a lot of people didn't realize that until now. So what's surprising is this was my deck when I first built this deck. Is like this was my lineup, and then people were like, why aren't you running the thing that, because this thing is kind of dumb because it's a Persona Blast. Now everybody's looking for this card and the price is going way up. So anyway, enough about that. So Trailing Rose, she's my favorite Neo Nectar Maiden boss, and then her. So if you're sitting on Aisha, basically she turns into Stride fodder. If not, then I don't know. You use her as if she was a Raging Form Dragon. For grade 2s, since this is the Maiden build, I'm not using those Knight things. So for Maiden of Cherry Bloom, she's been out since last year. She came out when Minerva came out in Brilliant Strike with the reverse Neo Nectar thing. This is just actually pretty good because when the attack hits, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, it hits the Vanguard, you get to call up to 2 of the grade 1. As rested, so it helps just set up the board with the multi-name things, which is basically the Nectar theme. So 4 of this, it's just really good overall. It's really consistent. That's probably the best word. I mean, you can run whatever you want, but since this is Maiden focused, I recommend these. And then for Maiden of Gladiolus. So this one is the main grade 2 that you want is the Rearguard with the GB1 skill. So basically, when you boost, you Counterblast 1, and you clone another one of the Rearguards, and you just call it to R. So these 2 work pretty well because this one, unless the opponent is wasting their blocks on this thing, which isn't really a bad idea, but it helps just set up the board even further. So like she can clone this, and she can clone whatever she called, that kind of thing. And then the other grade 2 I'm running is the Maiden of Libra clone. So Maiden of Rainbow Wood, she is your typical, when it hits, it does not have to be Vanguard, it can hit Vanguard or Rearguard. Counterblast 2, draw a card. Her effect is on Vanguard or Rearguard also. So old school card from when Maelstrom came out. It's just, a lot of people say this is not really needed, and that is kind of true because it is very Counterblast heavy, but it's just nice to pressure the opponent, and this deck does surprisingly well. I mean, all this stuff Counterblasts, but it works. So, moving on to grade 1s, As you can tell, since it's super counterblast heavy, I am running 4 of the new Maiden of Passion Flower. If you don't want to run this because of Laurel and because of the cross and the N, you obviously run Maiden of... I forgot what her name was. But basically the first perfect card for Neo Nectar that came out with Maiden of Trailing Rose. It was like Maiden of Watering Lily or something. I forgot what the name is. But anyway, it was the original PG, the one that basically is better than this one. It can guard rare guards. And it actually works with Quintet Walls. So 4 of this one, because the deck is super counterblast heavy. Then 4 of the Maiden of Cherry Stone. This is the one that works with Cherry Bloom. And then if she boosts and it hits, you can put her on the top of the deck to Superior Call this one as rest. So it's kind of like the Seed Squires from back in the day, but it's just the Maiden ones. So a lot of people are looking for these cards for some reason. I mean, I guess that's the advantage of building up a collection and not getting rid of your cards. You just you can modify your deck over time and it just gets better. So anyway, moving on. I am trying 3 of this Maiden of Canna. She's one of the new Maiden cards from the previous set that came out. She has a GB1 skill. You can counterblast and put her in the soul. Choose another unit. Choose up to 4 units with the same name and they get 5,000. So, powers up. She rewards you for having multiple copies on your board. And then I'm running 3 of the Stride Fodder, just because it's Stride Fodder. That way, if you are sitting on Maiden of Trailing Rose, and you have another one in your hand, and you have one of these, if you really want to Stride, you can use her instead. So that way you can actually later on still do the Persona Blast. But it's up to you. I'm running Stride Fodder. It's not really too necessary. You could get away with running some other stuff, but I don't know. I just kind of like it, especially because it's Stride focused. So, yeah. Moving on to the trigger lineup. So this is where the deck deviates a lot from the typical critical and all that stuff. Critical and draws. So for what I'm actually running is, I'm running 4 Watering Elf. Yes, it's not Maiden, and yes, I know, I think there's another Stand Maiden from set 8. But anyway, she is the Flame of Victory clone, or Margle clone, whatever. She's just a stand trigger. So running her because stands work in this deck because you always have a full board. And unless you're up against Link Joker, you get multiple attacks in. Stands just work with strong columns. Then I'm running 4 Maiden of Daybreak. This is the one from the trial deck that has the GB1 skill. Same thing as... basically, if you have like 2 of the same name unit, you can choose one of them and both of them get 5k. So, pretty good skill. You almost never use it, but it's like a pretty clutch move to use either of these in the late game. So that's why I am running these. So 8 stand. People are probably going to think that's crazy, but it works. I've won quite a few times with this build. And then 4 critical. So those expecting draws, no, running criticals. Criticals are just way too good. They're the best trigger in the game. It's been statistically proven, so I will never run a deck that doesn't have criticals, even in Maelstrom. And now everybody's realized criticals are good in Maelstrom. So 4 critical, 8 stand. You don't need draws. The deck fills up the board, conserves hand that way, etc. And then 4 of the heal. So all of these, with the exception of the Watering Elf, are from the trial deck. So relatively easy to obtain. And the starter, now the starter is actually the thing I change a lot. I went back and forth with a bunch of the new Maiden starters, and honestly, I like the one from last year, from Brilliant Strike. Maiden of Physalis, mainly because she doesn't use Counterblast. You can use her effect very early in the game to call a grade 1 out, so it helps you not clone, but the thing is, it's not even required to clone. You just look at 5, put her in the soul, attack hits that she boost, look at 5, call a grade 1, I mean, it's pretty simple, and you don't have to counterblast. That's the main thing. So many things in this deck counterblast. And I often found that the other starters, like the Trial Deck starter, and that other starter that came out in set 2, GB2, they just didn't work for me. Like, my board was never set up properly for them to get their full advantage. So I just stuck with Physalis, and she just seems to work better. Obviously, the other starter you could go with is the Musketeer Grade 3 Searcher, but I don't really think that's necessary. So I recommend Physalis, especially if you're going for a pure Maiden build. For the strides, I am running one Multivitamin Dragon, because it's all I have. One Primavera, because she's okay. She's a really expensive cost, but it forces the opponent to do something. Four. 4 Ouroboros, because I don't have Jingle Dragon, and I'm probably not going to ever get that card, because Neo Nectars is not my main. So, yeah. So just Trial Deck stuff. It works. You're almost always going to stride this like twice per game. And then you'll go in, unless the conditions are set up for you to use Primavera. Otherwise, usually my games go like, I stride Ouroboros again, and then I go into either this or one of these. So Atmos and Blizzard are just kind of here, just generic stuff. Pull the deck up. So anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the Maiden deck profile. Let me know what you think between the Maiden deck and the Musketeers, and which sub-clan or which archetype do you think is actually the better out of the 2 Neo Nectars that are real popular out there. And hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, stay tuned for more Cardfight Vanguard videos, and if you like this video, please subscribe. Thanks.